Hi, I'm Ray Young. I'm an emeritus professor from the University of Wisconsin in Madison, and I want to continue with my discussion of my pilgrimage to the holy Mount Athos. In the previous two lectures, I gave an introduction to the holy mountain, and in the second one, I talked about my hike to the Vatapeta Monastery and the characteristics of that large monastery. So today, I want to continue with my hike and stay at the Iviron, the Simonopetra, and the Grigoriou Monasteries as part of my 4-day experience at the Holy Mountain. Again, this is the Holy Mountain. I've showed this slide before. Caries is the administrative center. I hiked to the Vatapeta Monastery, and now I had to make my way from the Vatapeta Monastery back to Caries and then to Iviron Monastery. I knew from prior experience that you could easily get lost on the trails, and sometimes they weren't as well marked. So I asked around, and they said, well, Monk Vasily will be going to the Iviron, and why don't you go along with him? And that was a great experience for me to hike along the trails with Monk Vasily. We talked about his experience and why he became a monk, and basically his family was quite religious. But he hinted along the way that they needed a computer at his monastery. He was the accountant. He did the accounting, and he mentioned this several times. And so I said, well, I think I can help you out there. So after my experience there, I sent him a computer for his use at the mountain. You're not required to pay for anything there while you're there, but certainly it's nice to reward them for their dedication. Okay, I made my way to the Iviron Monastery. You can see here, it's another large monastery. You can see the grounds where they're growing a lot of their vegetables and food. They grow a lot of their own food, provide their own sustenance. The Iviron was an Iberian monastery originally. It's a smaller monastery, though, about 50 monks. And one of the things I noticed, it had no electricity, so the halls got very dark in the evenings very quickly. A different kind of experience. One of the features of the Iviron Monastery is that they believe this is the site where the Virgin Mary appeared at the Holy Mountain. And this is one of the reasons that they don't allow women. They feel like if the Virgin Mary came here, no other women should be allowed. And they have relics of more of the canonized saints than any of the other monasteries on Mount Athos, sorry. One of the very treasured icons that they have is the Pangia Portatisia, the Iviron Mother of God icon of the Theotokos, that is the Virgin Mary. It was painted by the Apostle St. Luke, and it's covered in gold and silver. And it's one of the most revered miraculous icons of the Theotokos on the Holy Mountain. Okay, from the Iviron Monastery now, I wanted to go to the Simonopetra Monastery, so I had to make my way back from Iviron back to the administrative center, the village of Caries, then down to Daphne, back again, which there was a bus, and then there was a boat ride to the Simonopetra Monastery here, and then I did continue the next night to the Gregoriou Monastery right nearby, which is about a 1.5-hour hike. So the Simonopetra Monastery is quite striking. It sets up on a huge cliff. It's astounding that it was built, 1,000 years ago, 800 years ago on this steep mountain. A lot of the monasteries are being restored because they're considered World Heritage Sites and they're being funded. This monastery was founded by Simon the Anthonite. One of the things they're revered for, they have a reputation for beautiful Byzantine music, and it's much appreciated. And one of the monks there gave me a really beautiful CD of the music that they perform at this monastery. And you can see here, I'd like to point out, this is the port where you arrive at the monastery down at the bottom, and then you have to hike up this steep, very steep incline on a hot day. It's a bit strenuous, but well worth it. This is a closer look at that monastery. This one had been nicely restored, and you can see on the bottom right was my my room. They gave me a private room. It was like really a nice facilities. I was quite impressed at what they provided. And the monks there tended to be younger. There was quite a number of younger monks at the Simonopetra Monastery. Okay, from there I went to the Gregoriou Monastery, not too far away, as I mentioned. And here's the Gregoriou Monastery. Also, this was founded a little later, but in the 14th century by St. Gregory the Younger. And it contains 10 chapels. It's not that huge, but boy, it had a lot of chapels in it. And it had a number of nice icons also in manuscripts. One of the featured manuscripts was the Shepherd of Hermes. It's from the 1st century. And it says 5 visions and 12 commandments of the canonical authoritative scripture of Christianity. And it's a very revered manuscript. Many other manuscripts were lost in a fire that they had, but they were able to save some of these important ones. The monastery also contains the bones of St. Nepthyn, Patriarch of Constantinople, which are displayed in a special crypt in the Catholicon. Okay, from there, of course, I had to make my way back to Daphne, the port, to catch the boat, to make my way back to Oranoupoli for my bus back to Thessaloniki. And that completes my 3 lectures, 3 presentations about my wonderful pilgrimage to the holy Mount Athos. Thank you. Efaristo.